Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. I'm Ryan Purvis, your host, supported by our producer Heather Bicknell. In this series, you'll hear stories and opinions from experts in the field, stories from the front lines, the problems they face and how they solve them, the areas they focused on from technology, people and processes, to the approaches they took that will help you to get to the grips with the digital workspace inner workings. Hey Heather, how are you?
Hey Ryan, good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. So you went hiking?
I did go hiking. We did 25 miles in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, which is part on we did the Appalachian Trail portion. So yeah, it was really good. It's been a little bit since I've climbed an actual mountain. I try to do a big hike every year, but the area around me isn't known for being particularly high elevation. So, it was challenging, especially after it rained. There's a bunch of rock there. So it was just like climbing up and down wet boulders. So it was hard, but it was fun to be out there. And it did make me think a lot about my Apple Watch, actually.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, I still have a Series 3, so I've known that this is the year for me to upgrade. It's starting to do some funky things. It's always had really low storage. I've gotten by with it, but I think I'm ready now to take the leap to a new watch. It's still funny to me that they sell the SE, which is, I know they upgraded it this year, but it was essentially the 3 that I'd had for so long. But it doesn't really, the main problem I have with the Apple Watch, well, there's a few. One is battery life. So I had it on hiking mode the first day, and that was fine because it got like a full good charge, with a real outlet and everything. So it lasted the first day. So it captured everything, which is great. It's nice to look back on like a super tough day of hiking and see that it did that. And then day 2, I charged it just on my battery pack, and it lasted maybe half the day, and it just died out of nowhere. And I had it on hiking mode again. So the day 3, I charged it, and I decided to just not leave it on any activity tracking to hopefully preserve the battery life, which did help. But then it only tracked like the exercise and whatnot it gave me was comical, considering that I'd been hiking for at least 8 hours. So, but did you catch the Apple event at all?
No, I've been deliberately ignoring that stuff. I'm trying not to buy new toys, so I just ignore.
Okay, well, I'll try not to make them sound too enticing, but there were a couple things that really interested me from this event, namely the watches. But I guess to touch on the phone quickly, something that's interesting is they have added to the new phones, I think it's for maybe just a couple years, but an emergency beacon feature.
Yeah.
So that's something so I hike with, I've already forgotten what it's called, but it's a Garmin device that can do GPS stuff, and it sets off an emergency signal for search and rescue. So it has that like search and rescue ability, which is interesting. So that's coming to the phone. And then the watch, they released an Apple Watch Ultra, which is this like chunky, like almost think an iPod, like thick kind of block. Like it looks very big. It looks like half an iPhone basically on your wrist. But it's supposed to be super rugged, can survive extreme temperatures, can be used as a diving watch up to like, I think it was 100 meters. And they have this ad for it that shows like a hiker, a diver, and I think a runner. But anyway, it's expensive. It's like more than double the regular Series 8 watch, but it has some cool features around like you can add, I'm mostly thinking about it for hiking, but you can add like points. You can do like track back with it. So if you're like hiking away and you kind of lose your way, you can follow it as a map. It like drops a pin where you were. Plus the activity side of it has a longer battery life and whatnot. But it looks cool, but it also does not look like a practical, like everyday watch. So I probably won't be getting it because of the high price tag and the fact that I only take a big hiking trip like once a year. So it doesn't really make sense for my lifestyle, but it still looked really cool. So I was enticed, but I'll probably get a regular Series 8.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring that up. There's a book series that I really enjoy called Orphan X. And he talks about a device called a Roamfree, which is equivalent to what you're talking about in the sense of it's a globally working satellite phone, but almost to the level of a corporate, not corporate device, a consumer device. And I've been fascinated by getting one of those. And like you, we don't hike a lot. And, I've got 2 Apple Watches. I've got a 6 and a 7 now. And I alternate those all the time. So they're always fully charged. In fact, now this one, I've just gotten home from gym, so I'll just switch them around to the 6 because, it just charges them up and they stay fully charged. And I have had those problems where we've gone out, and specifically it's the GPS that kills it, where we've gone out for like an 8-hour day and, walked around a castle or something like that. And the watch has been at like 70% when we start the day. And after about 5 hours, it's like almost dead. Because whenever we go to those places, I turn on the tracking to see how much we walk around. I mean, we were at a little zoo the other day. In fact, the day we were supposed to, I think I missed our call. And I mean, the zoo is really small. Like, it's not a big zoo by any means, but we walked 10 kilometers, which is about 6 miles, let's say. Mm-hmm. And killed the battery completely. But the reason why I do it is because I want the record of the walk at the place, because it goes into my journal and it's there. Then next year I'll see it that we were there, and I mean the photos will be there. But I also want to know where we spend time at the park. I mean, it's stupid things, but it's interesting to me. Now, the interesting thing which you were talking about there, and I was thinking about it. In fact, I was just checking my phone now to see if I still had the 3 words app. Is if you could tie that to your 3 words location, and if there was an issue, and that pulse or whatever it is gives the 3 word location to where you are, as opposed to necessarily the GPS coordinate. Would that be maybe more accurate than the GPS? Because the GPS would be, if you had low battery, you may not be able to get to the satellites, but you might know where you were by the 3 words location, in theory, or your last ping on that. But it's an interesting space, and I think now I would have to go look up this little block because I'm not curious.
You have to at least see it because it does look, apparently, so it's titanium, I think, and everyone who's been reviewing it says it feels lighter than it looks, but it still is just like, it looks huge even compared to the newer, like everything looks huge to me with the Series 3, but it's very chunky.
So what is it? What would you call it? Apple Watch GPS? No?
Apple Watch Ultra is what they've named it.
All right, I have to look at it.
Sort of their answer to, but it's still the thing is it still doesn't really compete with the Garmin watches. So my boyfriend was hiking with his Garmin watch, which of course had no battery problems. It already has the GPS thing and it's several years old. So he's already thinking of upgrading to a different Garmin watch, but I'm sort of in this conundrum now. Do I go to Garmin? Do I stick with Apple?
You know what? If you're in the ecosystem, then I wouldn't even look at another watch, to be honest with you. Not unless you're an endurance athlete. Like I've got a friend who is. I mean, he does these, 4-day, 5-day. I mean, his birthday present. I don't know if I told you this. His birthday present from his wife was the entry into an event where he got to run 100 kilometers a day, and he was stoked. And he sent us all pictures, and he sent us pictures at the end of the day where his feet were smoking from running, literally smoking. You could see the steam coming off.
Sounds super fun.
So this, I mean, he has the, I'd actually ask him what his opinion would be. He might look at this kind of stuff, but he's actually not in the Apple ecosystem. But beyond that, I haven't. I mean, I've looked at all the Android watches, as they come out. All the, I had a Fitbit, but I had a Polar. I've looked at the Garmin's, and as an all-rounder, the Apple Watch still just does everything well. Whereas the other ones do some things well, but there's always something they don't do very well.
Yeah.
And that's always been my problem with them, with going with something else. And I mean, we get with our health plan, we get not a free watch, we get a big discount to go with another brand. Cheap, it makes it much cheaper than an Apple Watch. And I still go with an Apple Watch. But because I'm in the ecosystem, and I've been playing with shortcuts this week a lot. And that's made such a difference, because now there's things on my watch that I'm doing that are shortcuts that just makes it so powerful that I don't even have to take my phone in my pocket anymore. And that's huge. And I think if you're looking at it from a day-to-day point of view, and you'd be a power user, so you would probably start doing these things, you're going to struggle with those other watches. They don't do, and this is, not you being infatuated with your watch. It's just like, well, I want to start a workout, use this shortcut, because the shortcut will turn my phone to do not disturb, and it'll start tracking, my walk or my gym session or whatever it is, or it's tied into. I was toying today with my Fitbod shortcuts to get the workout to start automatically, so I don't have to go into the app to start the workout. That doesn't work, unfortunately. But if they can cut out 2 steps, I mean, it saves me 3 seconds at a time. I mean, it's nothing, but it's huge if you're doing it every day. I go to the gym every day, so every day I'm opening the phone, going to the app, pressing start on the workout. I don't even change the workout, so I don't care what's actually in the workout. So I just need to press start as fast as possible, and that's where I think these things are hugely powerful.
Yeah, Apple definitely has more like phone tech and I think holistic sort of health features than the other ones. I think actually where Garmin excels is gamification. So I think their system for gamification seems a lot stronger. There's a few things I like about it. One is they do weekly intensity minutes instead of like a daily ring thing. And one of my gripes with the Apple Watch is that I don't do the same amount of activity every day. So I end up setting my goals sort of artificially lower than, because I don't want to, feel like I'm not closing my ring. So but if it was more of a weekly system, I think that makes more sense for sort of my like lifting 4 times a week, going on a walk every day, like my routine. And then they have challenges where you can compete with strangers. You can add things like a custom step challenge, and different sort of like custom awards. Yeah. And the Apple ones are very like stock.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think that's the privacy issue with Apple in some respects. They don't want to create that community. And also they've got a partnership with Nike. So typically if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you'd go through the Nike app, which I'll be honest, when I got one of my watches, it was the Nike one. And I tried it for about 3 months, and it just, at that stage of my life, wasn't interesting. And now if I do care about that kind of stuff, it's all through Strava. And everything syncs there in the end anyway, because I need it to synchronize there so it goes into my diary. And then there's a convoluted process to all that, how that's happening. But from and I hear what you say about the gamification thing, but I actually don't think you lowering your targets is a bad thing. There's actually a science to that, where if you have a lower target that you can achieve easily, it tends to make you more motivated to go past it. Whereas if you set something unattainable, if you don't get close to it, then you tend to give up. So I've reduced all my goals to not necessarily the lowest, but like my daily activity. And you and I are linked, so you'll see this. My daily activity is like 800, and then my exercise thing is 25 minutes, and my standing is, I think it's 10 now. It used to be 12. Standing for 5 minutes every hour, whatever it was. And the reason why I dropped them, so activity I dropped just because if you let it carry on itself, it keeps increasing your activity by 10% each week. And at some point that becomes unattainable.
Yeah.
And I was doing that to begin with. And I wasn't enjoying anything because I kept missing it or getting close. And like at 11 o'clock at night, I'm busy doing stuff.
You're like shaking your arm.
Yeah. I thought this is so stupid. So I just dropped that one. I left that at 800 and I keep it, I think it's 880 or something, and it stays there. Then
that's pretty high, I think, for a move goal.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, I walk my son to school. I go for a 20-minute walk. I go to gym. I go for another walk. I up and down the house. So to do 800 in a day is not difficult. But I had to drop it when I had COVID because I couldn't do anything, and that's one of the reasons why I left it low. Is in case I get sick, I still want to keep myself motivated while I'm sick. I mean, I'm not talking going to gym and stuff, but at least getting up and walking. And then that was the other reason why I dropped the exercise, because I was finding that when I got sick and I couldn't get out of bed, to do 25 minutes was a lot. But I could still do 25 minutes. So that's still there. And then the standing, I just dropped that because, if I stand I'm standing at my standing desk most of the day now. If I rest my hands on the table, it doesn't count. Yep. But I'm still standing.
Yep. That drives me. Yeah.
And then and that's one of the metrics you can't cheat. So if you get to like 10 o'clock at night and you haven't done 6 of them, you can't do anything to get the 6. Whereas if you need to get your effort or your activity, you can walk around the house, and start a workout, and it'll all capture and you'll get past it easily. So that was the rationale behind that. And then of course I've still got my step target of so 12,500. That one I don't cheat. That one I always try and hit. But that's fairly easy to get to. Mm-hmm. Is all the other stuff that I do.
And you're just watching for that step count.
Yeah, well, this is actually a bad habit that I've got now. So when I had a Fitbit, well, I still have a Fitbit on the one arm. That vibrates when you hit your target. So I know when that one's hit, but the Apple Watch doesn't do that very well. And there's like a delay between your steps being, like you walk around and then your steps synchronizing to the watch. So I've had the number on my screen on the watch, but it doesn't show. So I actually was going to work I'm going to put a shortcut together for that, just to create a notification for that. Because what happens now is I check my watch and I'm going, how many steps have I done? As soon as I go past 12,500, then I don't care. But I keep checking my watch to see how many steps I've done. Mm-hmm. Which is just it's a waste of time. So I need to actually change that. So I'm going to play with shortcuts on that tomorrow to see if I can do something with that.
Yeah, that one sounds interesting because it'd be nice to get notified for steps.
Well, and the other thing that I do, have I ever talked to you about Sweatcoin? I'm sure I have.
I think so, but remind me, is that where you put money in and... Yeah. No.
So this is they give you a coin for every 1,000 steps you take. And then they have like and this is, decent gamification, where if you go walk for 20 minutes and you do 2,200 steps, they give you a bonus 5 coins. So that's, I like it from an incentive point of view to get out and go do the 20 minutes. The thing I don't like about it is sometimes I don't have the 20 minutes continuously to go and do that walk. So they almost had 2 versions of this. The one version is that one, the 2,200 steps in 20 minutes. The other one was if you just walked for 20 minutes, they double your steps, whatever you did. And I prefer that one because if I go for a walk with the kids or something and they're not going to walk at the speed that I need them to walk, but I'm still walking, whatever I'm doing, then I'll get my, I don't care if I get 1 or 2 or 5 coins. I just care that I've done the 20 minutes and I've got the double. And those are 2 interesting different behavioral things. Because if I miss the 5 boost, it pisses me off. It really does. Because there's been times where I've walked it, definitely. I've done the whole thing, and then it tells me that I haven't done it. And I'm like, I haven't got another 20 minutes today to go and do this walk. I've got to go back to go to a meeting or whatever it is. And that really irritates me. So the other one is almost the easy one. It's just, well, if I go for a walk and I get 3 coins or 2 coins or whatever it is, yeah, that's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting my double.
Well, that's interesting. I feel like you have the watch, the Fitbit, the Aura, and then a separate gamification watch and the Strava. You can really get like your average, I guess, from, do you feel like you have a more accurate picture just having all of the sensors basically?
Yeah, so the main ones are the watch and the Oura Ring, and everything gets logged through Strava. Well, I use the Apple recording mechanisms because if I do like an Apple Fitness workout and all that, it all goes through the same into Apple Health directly, and then that synchronizes through an app called RunGap that puts it into Strava, and then from Strava it goes into my day one journal, so I can see every day since I've been doing this, how many, what did I do that day? How many walks did I do? How many, did I do weight sessions, hit whatever it was? So that's really why I track everything. Mm-hmm. And then also what I'm using, if this then that, to do is to put a entry into my Google Calendar. And then I can actually see what time of the day I went for those walks. And that's just, interesting. Like I was looking for something yesterday and I was going, oh, geez, that day I walked 6 different times. And then I was like, oh, I know, I was in South Africa. And what I was doing, I was walking around the complex because I was on phone calls. And I was so sick and tired of staring at a screen that I was phoning people on my walk, just saying, listen, I can't do the screen anymore. So we're doing this call while I walk. And, it's for that stuff as well. Because if you start feeling unhealthy or whatever, you want to see why you're feeling unhealthy. And that's the other thing to this is if I know when I haven't worked out, because I feel terrible the whole day. And so the reason why I track my food. If I'm not feeling great the next day, I look at what I ate the night before and I can see that I ate something I shouldn't have been eating, specifically ice cream. Typically ice cream is the biggest problem.
It's hard to get away from ice cream. It's good stuff.
Well, it was my daughter's birthday last week, so we took her to the local restaurant and they have a massive, it's like a sort of 2 hands bowl with brownies, ice cream, chocolate sauce, very American sort of dessert.
It sounds extremely American.
A big steamer. So I normally don't touch dessert at dinner, and we had some, and I suffered the next day because I don't eat that stuff.
Special occasion, yeah.
Well, you see, I don't eat that stuff anymore, so my body doesn't know how to process it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know you need to go.
All righty. Well, good cool. Talking. Talk to you in a few days.
Cool. Thanks, Heather. Cheers, Dave.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Heather Bicknell is our producer and editor. Thank you, Heather, for your hard work on this episode. Please subscribe to the series and rate us on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Follow us on Twitter @the DWW Podcast. The show notes and transcripts will be available on the website www.digitalworkspace.works. Please also visit our website www.digitalworkspace.works and subscribe to our newsletter. And lastly, if you found this episode useful, please share with your friends or colleagues.